Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and here on this channel, we talk about truth and authenticity. So I took a little break because I went on vacation. I'm back now. I also worked on a project. I officially have 22 fruit trees in my backyard. For the longest time, I didn't know what to do with that backyard. I had space. I didn't know if I wanted to put a pool in there, to build another apartment, or, just to use it as an open space. So I was indecisive for 11 years. So for 11 years, I haven't done anything to that backyard so that I can keep in the unlimited possibility section. Like that, the day I do make a decision, I can make a decision. There's not going to be a pool there already. Or, if I want to build an apartment, if you put the pool, it's finished, right? So I didn't want to make a decision that I wasn't sure. But lately, I was like, all right, what do I want in that backyard? And I wanted a Garden of Eden. My lemon tree is giving me lemons all year round. Normally, they don't give lemons all year round, but it's so sunny here, they give lemons all year round. And that's just one tree that I have. So that's why I was like, you know what? There's no point of me buying fruits and vegetables. I can grow everything myself, and that's exactly what I did. So as you can see, I'm very fit. Because it does train your body. I also went hiking. I did a lot of stuff. So if you don't hear from me, it's because everything's good. If you hear from me, it's because, we need to speak about the truth, And this is what I wanted to speak about today because I was flying high. Hey, listen, I was like at the corner of a red light with a smile on my face and nothing was going on. I was just smiling. I remember I was looking everywhere. There's these purple trees all over LA during spring. They have flowers. They smell incredible. The flowers fall on the streets. So the streets are purple. The sky's purple. Anyways, same thing in Prague. I went to Prague and there were like these trees with flowers. And the locals told me this is once a year. The whole city smells good when this happens, So anyways, I was admiring the birds, the trees, and I was just smiling. And I was very, very high. Vibing so high. I was enjoying it. So here's the thing. When you increase in vibration, you become one with the universe, right? You co-create. Hey, my cat. You co-create with the universe, right? But as you ascend and your aura gets bigger and bigger, you tap in and you become one with the universe. Like I'm putting music on the radio and it's speaking to me directly. Like it's so in my face. So it makes no sense for me to take a video and be like, look at the synchronicity, I'm not going to tape these things. This is between me and the universe and we're having a great time. Connectivity to the max. So, things like that. I was super high vibe. And then what knocked me down is the David Wilcock death. It took me a couple of days to process really what happened because I'm a huge fan. I can't believe I never spoke about David Wilcock. I never spoke about him because to me, he's one of the top truthers out there. He's like out of my league, he's like a prophet. Honestly, he basically said he was the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, which I believe. This is a grandiose thing to say, and he was able to match it. I would totally believe that he is the reincarnation. So, anyways, very sad story. I don't believe he offed himself. I don't, because he even said it. And trust me when I tell you, when you're in your mission, especially as a truther, okay? I'm not talking about the life coach. I'm not talking about the spiritual people. Like, listen, you can say that they're on their mission, but to me, they're performing. I didn't go back to Instagram because I didn't see the need of going back. Listen, the general Instagram, I realized I was the star of the show. Once I left, I had no reason to go back. Everyone's projecting. Everyone's performing. Not everyone, I would say 95%, a good 5% they're authentic, keep going. But 95% are 100% performing. They're still stuck in their loop. So here's the thing, when you beat the demon, I beat the demon and it's Jezebel. So when you beat the demon, what happens, right? You see higher than what the demon sees, right? Because you beat him, right? So you pass the test and beat the demon. We all have our own demons, right? We have an energy that tries to stop us from our mission. This is equal to everybody. So we each have our demons to fight. And I recently beat the hell out of my demon, kicked him out and kicked his girl out too. So bottom line, I can see higher than what the demon can see. And I was able to see everyone's loop. Everyone's stuck in a repeated loop, right? And it's okay, because that's the world of performance. The world of authenticity, which is, in my opinion, YouTube, because when you have like an hour video, you have more time to be authentic. It's less performance. You can't perform for an hour, right? Are you going to read a script for an hour? That's why YouTube, it filters, right? The people that can make it on YouTube for like an hour video and talking, right? And being interesting, to me, that's more authentic than someone performing a fake life on Instagram. So everything works out, right? And that's where I knew that I had resistance. I didn't want to go back. I tried to go back. They blocked me. I didn't want to go back after that. So I've been watching a few people that made videos about David Wilcock, and I'm impressed. The Open Your Reality, Chad, great job. I've been watching Chad for a long time. He's also shadow banned just like me. So here's the thing. The important people are shadow banned. The people that nobody cares about, the general mainstream, they're not shadow banned. They're getting pushed with audiences. So now I understand. I targeted the wrong group. I targeted like a really shallow group and it didn't work out. And I wonder why, right? Wrong environment. So to me, truthers like David Wilcock, those are my people. Because they're not there to perform. They're not there to be a celebrity. They're not there to sell their souls. They're there on an incredible mission. Okay? So to the girl that like doesn't believe that the planet's a prison, whatever, look at it this way. If planet is not a prison, why can't we evolve? Right? How come we don't know our history? How come we don't understand our DNA? How come we can't cure ourselves, right? How come we're dependent on a system? How come the spiritual people are dependent on a system, So if it's not a prison, then why all these things? Why all these blockages? So trust me, the reincarnation loop is somewhat of a prison, right? You come back until you remember why you're here in the first place, so you can get out of the reincarnation loop. So it's okay. Don't look at it like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's not. We're opening the prison. We're slowly escaping from the prison. We're awakening. We're telling the truth. Some of us are dying as a consequence. Listen, David said he would never off himself. Then the tape showed that the cops called in after he offed himself. So, who first called the cops? That's what I want to know. Was it David? Was it his neighbors? Who first asked the cops to come over, right? For the cops to have to call in and say that this guy shot himself. So trust me when I tell you that story makes no sense. Even if he wrote a note, Kurt Cobain wrote a note, and trust me, he didn't off himself. He kept singing, I swear I don't have a gun. No, I swear I don't have a gun, right? Like, trust me, Kurt Cobain didn't off himself. Well, David Wilcock didn't off himself. The only problem is that these people were alone, so there's no witness. There was nobody in David's house to be like, no, I saw what happened, So he was alone and he got offed. So there's scientists missing, right? I also looked into that. But the scientists missing, the way that they were missing is random. Like one of them got lost during a hiking, trail, at the hiking trail. She was with a friend. The friend made a right, and she never showed up. So he came back on the trail and she was gone. Just disappeared like that. No sign of struggles, no sign of anything. And then a few other scientists just left their houses. One left the house with a gun, left the phone, everything behind, didn't say anything to his wife, and just took a gun. They saw it in the video and left. And a few other people did the same thing. They left all their belongings, disappeared in the middle of the night. One of them was found in a lake. And then there was two other that got offed in front of their house, just like David Wilcock, right? The person comes out, and then they're like, oh, he did it to himself. You can't prove it. So as you can see, it's really random the way that they all unalived or, they're gone. The only common thing that they all had is that we're all working on a propulsion system, on a different alternative propulsion system connected to NASA. That was the common point. So David Wilcock also talked about, anti-gravity propulsion system, like he was also researching in that. So I think that's why they offed him. Also in his last video, when he had the cigarette in his mouth, you can see he's stressed out. You can also see he's mocking somebody, right? He was not making fun of somebody, but he was mocking somebody. He was mocking a system. He was mocking something. So, that must have triggered something. And after that, one thing leads to another. And, and he said it. I would never off myself. He said that in 2022. He also talked about a black Jesus. Apparently, when he talked about the black Jesus and put it in his book, he was threatened to get killed for that as well. So apparently there was this black Jesus in Africa in the 1930s. It was this man. He was like a prophet. He was able to cure, do miracles, and they couldn't kill him. Every time they would kill him, just like the Terminator guy, he would shape back and be alive. And they honestly tried to kill him multiple times and they couldn't. And then at the end, the guy's like, okay, you don't want me here, I'll disappear. But know that in the future, there's going to be many of us and you're not going to be able to stop us all. So that story is incredible, totally resonated with me because I know there's some miracle people, but they don't make it, right? It's always the goofy ones, the clowns, the flying monkeys that are in front of the screens, right? Because the system decides who makes it and who doesn't, right? The puppet master decides who's the main puppet and who's the least puppet. So the people that don't want to play the game are not part of the show and they get disqualified and kicked out, which, trust me, it's way better. Nobody wants to play that game. I mean, nobody with half a brain wants to play that game. So anyways, like I was saying, Autistic Mystic did a great job. He took the birth chart of David Wilcock and saw the energies of that day. And the energies of that day were really, really low, especially on the line that he lived, David Wilcock lived in. There was a line that had really, really low energies on that day. And also some junction with Mars that he went and he said, this could be also very dark. So I believe it was the very dark. Like I said, when you're in your mission and when you're a truther, the last thing you want to do is off yourself because you see how important you are. You see how important your voice is. You see how much impact you have. So trust me, after, writing all these books and legacy and having no child to leave it to, he would have never done that. And it's not a mental health problem. Listen, I have voices in my head. It's not schizophrenia, It's God speaking to me. It's not mental health. Listen, you cannot have a mental health problem if you're making live videos and you're writing books and you're changing the world. This is the same thing as Britney Spears. Oh, mental health problem. She's not fit to keep the kids, but she can go on tour and do all these like crazy job that's physically demanding, mentally demanding. Come on, it's BS. If you can work, you don't have a mental problem. Now, if you go to work and you snap and you lose your shit at work, then you can call it a mental problem, right? But if you go to work, everything's great. You go back home, everything's great. Once in a while, you have a bad day. That's not a mental problem. Voices in the head, that's not a mental problem. That's spirits, angels talking to you. So they're very quick on blaming it. Mental problem. It's because he was financially... Listen, he lived in a modest house. What financial problems? Worst case, you declare bankruptcy, You keep a cabin to yourself and you declare bankruptcy. So his friends were all shocked. And I'm glad his friends all made videos about it. You can see he has solid friends. So, everyone's shocked. So no one saw it coming. And if we didn't see it coming, it's because he didn't do it. Anyways, I really, really would like to send a positive vibe to his family. It's a very difficult time. It's a very difficult thing to digest because he was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful, wonderful light. He was a ball of light. Like his aura, I'm sure, was like golden. It was very bright. So rest in peace, David Wilcock. But the rest of us, we have to keep speaking. We have to tell the truth. We have to expose. Because, they can't shut everyone's truth, right? They can shadow ban us. They can minimize us. But our truth is very strong and very powerful. So another thing that I noticed, I watched the Knights Templar documentary because I never really understood what they were all about. And that is one secret society that I agree with. And I understand now how secret societies became secret societies. Because back in Atlantis, we had free energy. Free energy to everybody, right? And that's what Tesla was trying to invent. He was trying to tap into prana so he can access energy and send it to everybody, just like we did in Atlantis. So after Atlantis went down, the Knights of Templar took the Holy Grail, which was apparently like a box filled with mana, and that box fits the exact box in the King's Chamber and the pyramid of Egypt. So it fits perfectly, and what they suspect is that it was like a generator of energy, right? It would generate energy within the pyramid, and then the pyramid would blast it off. And that's why there's pyramids all over the world. It's not just Egypt. There's pyramids all over the world, literally. There's also star forts all over the world. And I've personally seen one in St. Augustine, Florida. Very, very old, but beautiful. And there's 2,000 star forts recorded on the planet all over the world. But there's only 2,000 because most of them are broken. If you have one side of the star fort that's like demolished, they don't consider it a star fort. The only ones that they're calling a star fort are the ones that really have all the pointy sides and everything of the building perfect. So there's only 2,000 standing, but there's way more than that. And what are star forts? Star forts, they're all located. I don't believe it's for army. That's BS. Because army, you should be located on top of a mountain, right? Just like in Quebec City. In Quebec City, the old port, you have the first floor, that opens to the water. Like that, if some threat comes from the water, it hits the peasants first. Then you had the bourgeois on the top floor, which was the fort and the castle and the village where the bourgeois would live. Like that, if there's an attack, the bourgeois had time to save themselves or counterattack. So that's how normally army is placed, on top of a mountain. Same thing with Prague. You have a castle on top of a mountain. So it doesn't make sense that you have water and right there you have a star fort, It makes no sense army-wise. It's you can't protect yourself like that. Also, when you visit these star forts, there's chambers underground. So everything's underground and you have a star fort that's elevated, but that's it. There's no weapons, there's no there's no windows, it's not like that. So you can see it has nothing to do with army. What it was built, it's all built on very rich ground. All the star forts are found on ley lines and very rich ground with a lot of natural resources. So it can push out the natural resources to all 5 angles. And some people have seen lights coming out of these star forts for the ones that were surrounded by water, because some of these star forts are surrounded by water. And people have claimed to see lights coming out like on the water from these star forts, and it's like the chemical reaction of the resources being pushed out and the water reaction. So these are all documented. So as you can see, pyramids to blast off energy and star forts to push it out. So you can see there was this energetic grid back in the day, like during the Tartarian world when we did have energy. So they cut that off, right? They cut the pyramids. So bottom line, because they cut this free energy, they didn't want everyone to have free energy. So the Knights of Templar took the Holy Grail and hid it, right? Because they didn't want it to fall on the wrong hands. So that's where the whole secret society began, right? The Knights of Templar is a secret society, but they're for the good kind, right? They're not like today's secret society that sacrifices chosen ones so they can get promoted. Them and their dumb bitch can get promoted, right? That's not the same sacrifice. These people sacrificed for the good of humanity, right? So it was a secret society, right? Like whoever that would be in the secret society would be funded. So they were financially comfortable. They were also connected all over the world. So apparently Christopher Columbus, it was the Knights of Templar that gave him the route to come to America so they can come and hide the Holy Grail. So it makes sense, because why would the native accept people on boats like that unless they have great energy? Natives are great with instincts, right? If somebody wants to come and colonize you, trust me, you feel it in the energy. You feel it in the energy, no matter how polite they are to you. You know exactly what they want. You know that there's a threat, right? So there must have been some type of agreement from the Knights of Templar to come to America to hide this Holy Grail. After that, the Europeans came and slaughtered everybody, right? So the first route was in good faith. And I think that's why I like Vikings, because apparently a lot of the Vikings were also Knights Templars. So the kings would go to the Knights Templars for protection. Kings would go to Knights Templars for finance. When they needed money, they would go to the Knights Templars, because the Knights Templars didn't believe in the Pope. They didn't believe in religion, and they didn't bow to a king. They believed in sovereignty. They believed in gnosis. They were Gnostic Christians, right? And that's what I believe. I believe everyone knows for themselves. It makes no sense to go and preach. Everyone knows deep down inside. Trust me, when a decision comes, you know deep down inside if you're making the right decision or not. Even if you're being mean or egotistic or narcissistic, you know deep inside that that's what you are becoming, or that's what you are acting on. Trust me, you don't need a God to tell you you're doing the wrong thing, even when no one's looking. You know deep inside. That's gnosis. Just people that tell themselves that voice is schizophrenia, I'm not going to listen to it, right? But that voice is consciousness, right? That voice is your heart speaking to you. So gnosis is your higher self constantly guiding you, right? But you have to believe in that. If you believe in kings and popes, then the higher self is eliminated. So they knew exactly the secrets of Atlantis. The Knights Templars knew the secret of, the ancient world. And they didn't want the secret to be given to the reptilians, right? So it makes perfect sense. I think that's why I really enjoy the Knights Templar. They're the only secret society that I enjoy. They're for the good of the people. And that's why they all got burnt at the stake, right? But today's Illuminati, everyone's sucking up to them. So why is today's Illuminati secret, right? If they're not guarding the secret of, Atlantis, they're not doing that. They're using the gifts to do harm in today's world. This is why you don't get involved with these people. 100% wrong path, 100%. So I understood that the Knights Templar is the right kind of secret society. That's the right kind of message. So what's their message is we're seeking truth, right? The Knights Templar came out with the bank system because people would get robbed going from city to city, right? Back in the medieval days, people would get robbed. So the Knights Templar put like not a bank, but like a location where you can exchange your gold for note. And then by the time you're done with your trip, there's going to be another building and then you can get your gold for your note. So they had the structure, as you can see. But what was their structure? Their structure was based on abundance. Listen, there's a formula in this planet, right? That just gives you more and more abundance. It's like fruits, right? You plant a fruit tree, you get more fruits. Unfortunately, because of the system and how corrupted it is, it has taken over that formula. So now it's using a destructive formula, a competitive formula. There's not enough space for you and me, no formula. But that's not it. That's not the right way, right? The right way is we should have 100 David Wilcock, not just one and now he's gone, The right way is abundance. That's the default formula of the planet. Mathematically, everything should duplicate, triplicate, Cells divide and become more cells. So as you can see, they have blocked the formula. So this is why the best way to win is to live the best life that you can and the best honest life, right? So you don't put harm out, so you don't have a guilty conscience, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about peace. It's your personal peace. If your personal peace means to sell your soul and to go be a star, then that's your personal peace, right? So it's whatever that brings you peace at the end. And by removing myself from social media, I saw the void, right? I was like, what am I actually bringing to the table? So let me remove myself and see what I was bringing. And that's where I decided to bring nothing but the truth, nothing but authenticity, and nothing but positivity. Also talk about the negativity, but also talk about the positivity, right? So now that we lost someone like David Wilcock, a prophet like David Wilcock, it's the rest of our job to step up and not to take his place, but to fill the void that he left behind, right? Because we don't want to lose chosen ones, right? We want to maintain chosen ones, and we want to bring on more chosen ones as well. So Dolores Cannon said it. It's waves of volunteers. She didn't say it's suddenly people that's going to wake up from the reincarnation loop. That's not what she said. She said it's 3 waves of volunteers, which means people that have never been on this planet before, right? So if you come here and you've never been on this planet before and you're part of the 144,000, of course, you're going to be confused, right? So our job is to guide the 144,000 so they can unconfuse themselves, right? Because like I said, they're new waves of volunteers. We got to help the people that's never been on this planet. And we've got to help the people that don't remember why they're here. And by being authentic, that's how you help them. Look at it this way. Last thing I'm going to talk about. We are all united, true, but we're not all equal, okay? We're all equal in the name of law, yes, but we're not all made equally. We're all part of a greater organism, okay? So this is the way you should see it. Some of us are ears, some of us are eyes, some of us are mouths, some of us are brains, and a lot of us are assholes. So the asshole is also important, right? Because we need someone to shit the crap out. However, the asshole is not as important as the brain, right? We can't lose the brain. We can lose the asshole. We'll just drill another hole, right? But we can't lose the brain, right? The brain is an essential part of the greater organism. So this is why we're not all equal. Some of us are brains and some of us are a-holes, right? But we're all needed into the greater system. The a-holes are reminding us what we don't want to be like, right? And the brains are guiding humanity towards advancement, towards evolution, right? Through gnosis. So this is why we're all part of a greater organism, but we're not all equal. All right. So this is the time to look at ourselves and see what part are we playing. Are we playing the mole or are we playing, the miracle in this movie called life? Okay. So like I said, it's a large prison, but it's up to you how you want to play within your cell, right? You're given an environment. It's up to you how you want to thrive into it. So I hope this clarified. I talked a lot, so I'm going to make this shorter. And again, rest in peace, David Wilcock. Incredible human being. Incredible man. I believe he was like a prophet. And we have to continue his legacy, which is talking about aliens and talking about the truth and matching that with spirituality. So thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.